Hello, I'd like to thank Rachel for being with us today, who is a teacher at the Positive Birth Company. And we were just saying something about the movie Alien. What?
I was just mentioning to Jen that when you're pregnant and you can start to see the baby moving in your bump, it's incredible and quite freaky in equal measure. So sorry, that was the comparison to Alien.
It's nice, was it? Because now we can put our hands here and feel either the baby's feet or hands, and they kind of like push and tickle, and it's almost like you're communicating with your child already.
It is. It's absolutely incredible. You start to feel like you know them. They start to kind of push you in kind of regular places. I found out there was a kind of position that my daughter used to like to get into. She would always feel comfortable right up under my ribs. Which wasn't comfortable for me. Are you finding similar?
Definitely, it's the rib jabs are the one of the worst, or the bladder.
Yeah.
Which then you can go to the toilet and within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, need to go to the toilet again.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending battle. So no, it's very, very good fun.
I remember it well.
So Rachel, what do you specialise in then? What are you here to teach us today?
Well, I teach hypnobirthing for the Positive Birth Company, like you said, which is incredible. So ultimately, hypnobirthing, if I just talk a little bit about what that means, because I think there's a lot of kind of preconceptions about what it might be, and maybe some misinformation about what it might be. So hypnobirthing is antenatal education, ultimately, where we look at very kind of specific areas to do with the science of pregnancy and labour, what your body is doing on a muscular level, what your body is doing on a hormonal level, to kind of understand exactly what's happening, because it's not something we get taught. Right? It's not something that we learn in GCSE biology. It's not something that we have time to do in midwifery appointments, for example. So we learned about the basic science of birth. We learn a lot about the impact of things like environment in the birth room. So whether you're in a labour ward, whether you're having a section and you're in a theatre, or whether you're at home having a home birth, the environment has a really, really big impact. And we learned about that. And we also go through the kind of basic antenatal education of first stage labour, second stage labour, and third stage labour, and areas like that. And what I think is incredible about the Positive Birth Company hypnobirthing program is that we don't focus on one type of birth. It's not just about a natural birth or a vaginal birth or whatever. It's about learning about the various different circumstances that can occur within birth, whether you're having an induction, whether you're having a section, whether you're having a home birth, whether you're in a labour ward. It looks at all those areas so that you feel prepared and confident, whatever the situation.
Now, you said about a muscular... Sorry, what was it? A muscular...
No worries. So you're learning about labour on a muscular level. So what's happening in your body, what's happening to your uterine muscles whilst you're in labour, and therefore why you might be feeling the sensations that you're feeling.
And what is happening?
Ultimately, your muscles are moving. So you have two bands of muscles in the uterus. You've got your kind of thick inner layer, which is horizontal, and then you've got a vertical layer, which reaches up and over. And in your contractions, or your surges, as we call them, they're moving. They move all the way to the top throughout your labour. And then when the baby is ready to come, you enter downstage labour and the muscles start moving downwards, which pushes the baby out.
It's almost like a massage bed, isn't it?
Do those muscles, is that specifically what they do? They don't serve any other function?
That's ultimately what they do in labour, which, you know, they're working incredibly hard for a number of hours. So it's really important to make sure that you're energised, that you're hydrated, so that those muscles can work effectively and efficiently.
And what happens on the physical level?
So that's what's happening on a physiological level, but also what we do is look at the hormonal kind of impact. So what we do is there are lots of hormones required for birth, but for the purposes of the hypnobirthing course, we just focus on two, which is oxytocin, which is the best friend of labour, and adrenaline, which is kind of the enemy of labour. And we look at how you can maximise oxytocin production and how you can reduce adrenaline production to make for a better birth.
And how do you reduce adrenaline?
Ultimately, relaxation. Being calm.
Hypnobirthing.
Exactly. So hypnobirthing is lots of different things all put together to kind of make for a calmer, confident birth. But the crux of it is the reduction of adrenaline to keep you calm and relaxed. And the idea is that when you're calm and relaxed, your muscles can then work more efficiently, more effectively, so labour becomes more comfortable.
Now, I thought adrenaline would work in a positive way due to when you're in trouble, your adrenaline kicks in, and that is almost what saves you. So how is it against you?
Yeah, so ultimately what we're looking at in labour is that, a lot of women, because of the way we've been conditioned to think about labour and birth as a society, are frightened, because when we think about how birth is presented in film, in documentaries, in books, whatever it is, it's usually something that can be quite frightening, quite scary, potentially traumatic. So we've been conditioned as a society to believe that birth is something we should be scared of. Yeah. So inevitably we produce adrenaline when we're scared or frightened, but actually that's the enemy of a good birth. What we need is you producing oxytocin. Now that's the hormone that fuels labour, and the way that we can produce oxytocin, it's called the love hormone. Okay, so it's when you're feeling loved, when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling safe. Conditions where you might produce oxytocin, or when you are being cuddled, when you're at home cozy in your bed, when you're having sex. All of those times are periods where your body will produce oxytocin. So it's about recreating those conditions so that your body can produce that hormone to make for a more efficient, effective labour.
And what things can help to increase I forgot my
Oxytocin.
words. Oxytocin.
The production of it. Yeah, feeling safe, feeling calm, feeling loved. That's why the birth partner, we believe, is so central to hypnobirthing, and also why the environment is so important, because we all know the impact of when you're somewhere new or unfamiliar. We feel it. We feel a bit nervous. We feel a bit on edge. So if you can create an environment where you feel relaxed, where you feel positive, where you feel calm, that's going to have a positive impact on the hormones that you produce. You'll be producing oxytocin rather than adrenaline, and that's going to help your muscles work effectively and efficiently, which makes it all much more comfortable.
And I heard you mention earlier there's 3 stages of labour. I haven't heard that before. What are the 3 stages?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was a new one for me as well. And it's all of this stuff that once you know it, it seems obvious. But anything's obvious once you know it, right? So first stage labour ultimately is the longest stage. It's the stage where your muscles, like I just spoke through, are kind of working really hard to go to the top of the uterus, and they start moving downwards. Typically, on average, it could be around 12 hours, particularly for a first birth. Second stage is usually much shorter. That's when the muscles are pushing the baby out. So that's when you're pushing the baby out. That's when the muscles are working downwards, and it's up until the baby arrives. And then third stage, which everyone's usually like, what? I've delivered the baby. There's another bit. I have to do something else. But there is. And it is quite different, but it's the birthing of the placenta. So the placenta that has been obviously keeping the baby alive. Once the baby is out breathing on its own, obviously the placenta needs to come out as well. So that's your third stage. We often refer to it as a kind of golden hour, your third stage, because so many important things happen in that stage. You birth your placenta, but it's also your time, your first kind of time with the baby on the outside. So it's the skin to skin, maybe establishing breastfeeding, if that's what you choose to do. Your uterus starts contracting back down to size. There's so much going on in the body in the third stage.
How long does the third stage take?
I usually would say on average around about an hour. Okay. If it's going on much longer than that, then you might need some intervention.
So you've got that all going on. So you're, like you mentioned, you're trying to spend some quality time bonding with your newborn, and you've got all that going on down there. Are you even aware of it?
You are aware of it. I think there's an awful lot going on, as you said. You're besotted with your new little one on you, but I suppose it depends woman to woman. I was quite aware of it. Other people less so. I think everything is so different, woman to woman, birth to birth. It can really depend.
And you wouldn't get those 3 stages with a C-section, or does your body still go through it?
It would be a different process. So your body would still go through it, but it's just a different way that it happens. So ultimately, a C-section, you're going out there, the kind of rooftop, I suppose, is often referred to as. But yeah, you were going through the same process, but it's just a different way of getting there.
Are you scared?
Of what part?
Let's start with the first stage.
You're in the delivery room pointing at me. You did this to me. Yeah. That's what
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Do hypnobirthing and you won't be scared.
I've heard a lot about hypnobirthing. That obviously I've had hypnotherapy before. Mm-hmm. How much does it differ from that?
It's really different, is what I would say. And I think initially when someone suggested the idea of hypnobirthing to me, I was a bit skeptical of it because I was just thinking of hypno. And for me, it didn't really appeal. I thought, I don't want to be hypnotized. All I could really think about was Paul McKenna, the hypnotist on TV, which is, I realise, a cultural reference which ages me massively. But it's very different from hypnosis. Really, the link between hypnosis and hypnobirthing is that we acknowledge that there is a mind-body connection. And ultimately, if we can change the way that we think about something, then we'll change the way that the body reacts. And that's the link.
My sister listened to a meditation before giving birth, and then that kicked in twice for both her kids. And she said it was the best thing she could have done.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. And I think once you realize how relaxation impacts the body physiologically, you become much more committed to the relaxation, the meditations, etc. You think, okay, it's going to have a really tangible impact on my muscles and how I experience labor.
Are you able to give me an example of sort of how the process works then today?
Yeah, so for example, one of the things that we do in the Positive Birth Company is that we've got scripts of meditations and relaxations, which will hopefully get you into a state of deep relaxation. And during those part of the scripts are about really positive messaging about birth, but also about you and your abilities as a birthing person. You know, you're strong, you're designed to do this. It's giving those positive messages that we often don't hear. And we hear the frightening messages and we hear the scary messages. And that really impacts how we think and how we feel about labor, and then that has a physical impact. So what we do in those relaxations and meditations is give positive affirmations about birth, changing gradually the way that you feel.
What are the positive affirmations?
I wish I had my script here. I could go through them with you. If you do the course, you will absolutely go through them and you'll know them by heart. But it's, really, really simple affirmations like, my body was designed to do this. I look forward to meeting my baby confidently and calmly, and just kind of the gradual, steady drip feeding of those messages.
So not like I'm going to be in a ton of pain shortly.
No.
This is going to be...
This, you asked me, am I scared? I'm not scared because I'm not giving birth. But if you keep imagining things, bad scenarios, it's anticipation anxiety creates the cortisol and
Absolutely.
the enemies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline, which is so absolutely what we don't want you to be doing. So I think, just from what you're saying here, I think you'd really benefit from the hypnobirthing course.
Yeah,
Just
I agree.
kind of, changing the mindset a little bit. And we often refer to the course almost like birth psychology. We're reframing how we think and feel about birth by really practical strategies.
Because yes, I think my fear has started to creep in now. Now that we're, at the last hurdle, I'm in the third trimester, and I think back to what friends have told me in the past of how painful their birth was, how horrific. Some have had really traumatic births, including epidurals, long labours. I remember every time I go for a tattoo, my friend would be like, I might moan that it's going to be painful, and my friend would be like, you don't know what pain is, try childbirth. Yeah. So it has been instilled from such probably a young age that this is going to be the most painful experience in my life. And I'm not going to lie, I'm quite nervous now.
Absolutely.
Look at the empathy there. But
and I think that's the way an awful lot of birthing people feel about labour, and that's why hypnobirthing is so important, because we're working to change that narrative. I felt nervous when I first got pregnant with my first. It was back in 2014. I was really nervous, and that's how I came to hypnobirthing. I was nervous. I was worried. Friends had said things that had planted seeds that, okay, maybe I won't be able to do this. Maybe I won't be able to cope. And of course that grows. And then I remember talking with a friend at work, and she mentioned hypnobirthing. Now, as I said earlier, I was quite skeptical. I think I smiled politely and then walked away making a face like, really, that's not going to be something I'm going to want to do. It just sounded a bit airy-fairy, and I thought, no, not for me. Anyway, the seed was planted. So I did a little bit of Googling, a bit of research, and I found a place that was local to me in Crystal Palace. So I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to give it a go. Now, if I was skeptical, my partner was, was sort of quite horrified that he was going to have to be involved in this. Hypnobirthing? I have to go? What, really? So I said yes. And I dragged him along. And honestly, after the first session, we were both total converts, even. It was so different from what I expected. It was so commonsensical. It was so practical. It was so evidence-based. We're total converts. And immediately I just felt my mindset start to shift. And I just felt like, okay, I'll manage. Whatever happens, I will cope. It gave me the tools to be able to do that confidently and calmly. And I would just say to you, my 2 births, without a doubt, the best days of my life.
wow.
Absolutely. And I would do it again and again and again. In fact, that's a kind of, I think, Alicia will have every month that I teach this course. I'm just like, I really want to have another one. Want to do it again. It's incredible.
It's not going to persuade me to have a ton of kids, is it?
It may do. It may do. Honestly, I could do, if I could bottle that feeling of how I felt after giving birth. Oh my God, it's magical. I'm getting emotional now. I do it every time I talk about it. But it's just, I have never felt more empowered. I have never felt so elated, euphoric, powerful, strong. And I thought I wouldn't be able to do it. And the incredible feeling afterwards. Oh,
That's
honestly.
what my sister said. And it was such a beautiful experience. She went into a trance. My sister does yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
And apparently this stuff's been proven to work for thousands of years, going back to mantras and Stoic philosophy.
Absolutely.
So, I think Jen's heard all these horror stories.
Yes.
Your story counters that. My sister's story counters that.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I think we should focus on, Jen.
Yeah, because my rational mind says to me, it's natural. Everyone does it, and I don't know. There's the other side of my mind that says it's going to be a horror story.
It's the same for me. I have fear of flying. Now, the chance of dying in a crash is minuscule, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But then you watch Air Traffic Controller, Flight 704, took off from Paris and over the Atlantic Ocean.
That rings in your head.
Watching enough of them and you're petrified.
Absolutely.
So I've traumatized myself. But it's not going to happen. And Jen tells me that all the time. So Jen, you've got to imagine, right? My fear is fear of birth, and you're telling me these things aren't going to happen, and reverse what you're saying, but think of it as birth.
What, your fear of flying? So what was your solution?
Imagine I've got fear of birth. What would you say to me?
And like you handled your situation with your fear of flying, right? How did you handle it? We were going to Amsterdam. He booked the Eurostar because he didn't want to fly. So that's like me booking a C-section.
What I'm saying is, psychologically, what you're teaching me to not be afraid of, you've got to adopt that yourself, but think of it as fear of birth.
Honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. I was the same as you, and as I said, I think so many birthing people are because of the messages we've been exposed to. But it's about changing that narrative. These birth stories, these positive birth stories that I've had, that your sister had, they're out there. There are millions of them. We just don't hear about them.
All we hear is the horror, isn't it?
That's it. Because my birth story, if I was to tell it to you now, it's quite boring. It's not an entertaining story. It's beautiful for me, but it was not a kind of story that you'd want to tell people, because I suppose it doesn't create excitement or anything. It went well. I managed. I used my tools. My baby arrived, and I felt amazing.
So what does Jen have to actually do to put this into practice before the birth?
Yes. Okay. So what I would suggest, with the Positive Birth Company, there are a number of ways that you can do this. So we have the digital pack, which is a really, really accessible way of accessing hypnobirthing. So it's £39, and it's a full comprehensive antenatal education program, and you can watch it, you can listen to it whenever you need to, and it will teach you all the tools, all the relaxations, all the meditations, but also, like I said, the kind of knowledge of the muscles, the hormones, the different stages, to help you remain calm, confident, and in control. So I'd really recommend the digital pack, but also we do in real life courses with teachers over weekends and over evenings, and also we have online Zoom courses. I really think you would enjoy them. But if I was to say one takeaway from the hypnobirthing course, it would be the breathing technique that we teach.
I've heard a lot about that.
It's incredible. It's a game changer. And honestly, I still use it. I really do. So it will work for you beyond pregnancy. I was using it on the train here because I was a little bit nervous.
Oh, no.
But it's incredible. It's called up breathing. So it's simply in for 4 through the nose and out for 8 through the mouth. And we do 4 repetitions of that. Now, if you can't get to 8, particularly you, Jen, you might be compromised with your lung capacity if baby is digging into your ribs.
Yes.
But as long as the out breath is longer than the inhale, so maybe 4 and 6 you could do. And it's just a really beautiful, calming breathing technique that can help get you through each surge or contraction. Typically, a surge will last around 60 seconds and then you will have your little breaks in between. So if you're doing that breathing, it can really help get you through your surge. For me, it was a total game changer. It helps to maintain the heart rate, keeping you nice and calm and relaxed.
But with the up breath, is it not compromised because all of your organs are being squashed? Not a lot of people talk about that, actually. What happens to your organs during pregnancy?
Yeah.
Have you seen videos?
No.
It's
amazing. It's incredible.
Squishes all of them up into your body.
The baby is compressing them.
Yeah, my organs at this moment are
They've all moved.
They're all getting squashed. So that's why I get out of breath.
Does that affect your digestion and stuff?
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And obviously that's why more frequent peeing and things like that. But no, it works really well, even though that is the case. But obviously, like I say, if you're finding the out breath a bit challenging because you're a bit breathless, just as long as it's about 5-6 seconds, that can still work really well. And like I said, it's something that I still use to calm me down to this day. It's just honestly a game changer. And when we get the birth stories back from women that we've taught, from birthing people that we've taught or accessed our resources, they regularly say it was the up breathing that was a real game changer and that enabled them to manage.
When they go into that zone then of that breathing, do they visualize as well?
Exactly. So visualizations are really kind of important part of our what we call hypnobirthing toolbox. So it might be a visualization that you just find particularly relaxing. So it might be a lovely beach, or it might be your garden or whatever, something you find relaxing to accompany the breathing. Or it might be something like a visualization of a movement. So for example, with the up breathing, you're doing your up breathing when your muscles are moving upwards, okay, to the top of the uterus. So if you think of upward motion, it's often really quite helpful. So it might be a sunrise, it might be a balloon taking off in the air, might be whatever works for you. Now, what I would say is what works for one person might not work for another. You may try that and go, no, absolutely not, out the window. Give everything a fair shot is what I would say. And then you take what works for you. Ultimately, the most important thing is that you're relaxed, you're calm and you're confident. And that's what hypnobirthing gives you the tools to be.
If Jen is practicing the meditation of hypnobirthing, does she need to do that solo, or is it something a partner I could do with her as well?
We really advocate partners being involved throughout the whole journey. So when you book a hypnobirthing course, there's a place for 2 people, the birthing person and a birth partner. We really advocate that you do it together as much as possible, because the birthing partner really can be transformative in the whole thing. It's a really important part of the labour process. And it's something that I think really irritates me personally, which is the really negative representation and depiction of birth partners in films and on programmes. If we think of what birth partners are made to look like, it's often quite, running around like a headless chicken or fainting or just being a bit helpless and not knowing them what to do. And I think that's a really damaging portrayal, because actually they have loads of really practical things they can be doing to support the birthing person. But unless you're shown, this is a good birthing partner, unless we see that, how do you know what to do? So it's important, again, that we change the narrative. And that's a big part of what we do in hypnobirthing.
Because I love meditation. Have you done much meditation, Jen?
Little bits here and now. I'm not that experienced, to be fair.
Did you enjoy what you did?
I find it quite difficult to concentrate.
Yeah. And that's really common, Jen. It was definitely the way with me to begin with. I'd start the meditation. I'd be thinking, right, what am I going to eat later on? Or what am I doing for work tomorrow, etc. But it's not to just kind of give up and think that it's not working. Like anything, meditation and relaxation is a skill. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. So if you find your mind wandering, just acknowledge, okay, mine's wandered then. Bring it back to the relaxation. Try again.
But I can imagine it being quite a mental battle on the evening of me going, okay, right, I'm calm. But then these thoughts creeping in of saying, this is painful. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm going to be able to balance that quite easily.
So but what I would say is a lot of the work with hypnobirthing is done before the event. Okay, so it's the prep that you do. Okay, so it's all the relaxations and all the meditations and all the different tools that we give you beforehand that will make a difference on the day or night. Most people go to into labour at night time, so we often say that. Those things will make a difference to how you're feeling on that day. You may not even consciously think about the hypnobirthing process when you're in labour. You just focus on your breathing and getting into a good position. Okay, but all the work, all the relaxation will have made a positive impact on you already, because you'll be less fearful and you will have your hypnobirthing toolkit there to use the strategies, whether it's massage, whether it's breathing,
Sorry, he massages me, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah,
your massage.
We've already started that part.
Yeah. Good.
There's a nightly shoulders and feet.
Lovely. Fantastic. So you're on the right lines. We've got really specific techniques that we teach around massage that are really good for oxytocin production. So that's one of the other things that you will learn once you start a hypnobirthing course, if you start the hypnobirthing course.
So it's like anything in life. Have you ever trained for something, swimming or?
Yeah, swimming, yeah.
Then it comes the day of the event where you've got to compete, and all your training is going to kick in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even though you're full of nerves, that is just the energy to keep you going through it. Then all your training is going to kick in, and you're going to get through it way better than someone who's never trained before in their life.
I admire how confident you are at the moment, but he's not the one who's having to go through this. But it's
you're going to get there.
I think you're a really good cheerleader.
And that's it. Cheerleader, that's exactly what a birth partner
Cheerleaders
can be.
Are required?
And advocate.
Not negs.
Advocate and cheerleader. What we say is that you're on their side, you are by their side.
Go, Jen.
That's
it. He's going to annoy me, isn't he?
He may do.
Got to test those pregnancy hormones.
Testing daily. So no, is there a difference? I wanted to ask this between a young woman, perhaps, let's say age range between 18 and late 20s, compared to a woman in her 30s, 40s like myself, giving birth, and how they perceive the pain barrier?
It's not something that I've particularly noticed in my teaching or in my own birth experience. I was 32 when I had my first and 35, I think, when I had my second. And it's not something that I've been particularly aware of at all. I think, so many women have different experiences, different contexts, different levels of stress and anxiety, which will impact upon them. But ultimately, whatever your starting position, hypnobirthing will help. It will help. And whatever the circumstances of your birth, it will help. We can never say that if you do this, the outcome will be X. Of course, you wouldn't be able to say that. There are too many variables. But what we can say is that whatever your circumstances, hypnobirthing is helpful.
Yeah, so Rachel, so recently I had 2 hours of dental surgery. They said it was going to be so painful, I had to split it into 2 1-hour sessions 2 weeks apart. And it got to the point where, as my brain's rattling, I just went into my mantra that I'd rehearsed back in America years ago. And I just drifted off somewhere else, and it took me to this peaceful place. So when you rehearsed for your birth through hypnobirthing, did you go into a mantra kind of scenario like I described?
If I'm honest, I wasn't as kind of aware of it on the day. Like I was saying before, it was almost like I'd done the prep. I'd had a mind shift in how I was thinking and feeling about birth. So for me, one of the most important things was the breathing, the getting myself into the best positions, and also the environment was absolutely key for me. So in hypnobirthing, we often talk about the 5 senses. So we think about the 5 senses as humans, as mammals, we read our environment through our senses. So in labor, we want to make sure that each of those senses are met with a treat so we can feel comfortable, confident, calm. So setting up the environment to be conducive to a comfortable labor is really important. So think about what you can see. Okay, so glaring lights, you're not necessarily going to feel really comfortable. But if you have nice, low, twinkly lights and the dimmer switch, changes things altogether. We associate it with relaxation. Okay, so then we might go to smell. You know, labour wards are known for their lovely smells.
Really?
Well, you know, hospitals in general don't always have lovely smells. So think about maybe bringing an essential oil with you, a room spray, a perfume, an aftershave that you really like. And then we think about the sounds that we hear are really important to how we're feeling. So have you got music?
Wasn't it Mariah Carey who gave birth to her own music, you were saying yesterday?
Did she?
Yeah.
Love it.
To
Love it.
her twins. So who was it? It wasn't you who told me yesterday. No, I was on the phone to one of my friends then. He said Mariah Carey, while giving birth to her twins, had her own music playing so they could come out to her wonderful singing
Her voice.
I can record you singing, Jen, if you want.
That's what. No, you didn't want to come out.
What kind of song? What would you like? What's your favourite karaoke?
Karaoke. I can't honestly. I have to do really deep man voice.
You can have like Nancy Sinatra, These Boots Made for Walking or something. Lovely.
Are you allowed to bring in your own music then? So if we were to bring like a Bluetooth player, speaker, and incense, well, they might be a bit funny about that one, wouldn't they?
So you wouldn't want to burn anything, obviously, and you wouldn't want real candles, etc.
Yeah.
But you can get those little LED night lights. You could bring in essential oils and put it on a hanky or on your wrist, whatever works. But yeah, absolutely, with the music. So if you're giving birth in a birth center, for example, a lot of them are kitted out with like iPod docks and stuff because they know the benefit of relaxation. They know the benefit of you feeling good, you having your stuff around you, your music playing. So, you know, they're set up for it. So I would start thinking about your birth playlist.
Well, it'd be Electro House, wouldn't it?
Amazing. Whatever works, whatever makes you feel good, happy, whatever's going to get the oxytocin flowing.
We're not putting strobes and glow sticks in your hospital bag, Jen.
I remember I had 3 albums on loop. My husband was sick of it by the end of it, but it was Adele, Jessie Ware, and Otis Redding. That was all I have for my second.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I understand
quite
that.
Calming. Yeah.
Yeah, oh god, my music taste it's gonna be erratic.
Whatever works for you.
Right. I also read somewhere yesterday, and it is Google, that the baby can hear my music I'm listening to through my AirPods headphones. Do you know if that's true?
I know that they can hear a lot more than we might think. I don't know specifics, but, things like talking to your baby, both the birthing person and the birthing partner, that can be really, really powerful to get them familiar with those voices. Are obviously going to be so important when they're born. It's one of the reasons that after the labour, the skin to skin is so important, both with birthing person and partner.
So Shaun has to sit there with his top off, obviously myself. So the baby goes from me to you.
That's nice.
Yeah, all of those. If you think, that baby has been this beautiful heavenly cocoon, like all watery and gorgeous, warm, hasn't had to think about anything, but all it knows ultimately when it is born has been removed. It's all of a sudden feeling cold. It's all of a sudden feeling, seeing really bright lights, etc. All it knows is your smell, your scent, your heartbeat, your voice. So it's so, so important. That's directly where the baby goes. And then to partner
Makes
too.
sense.
And does he like me more because he's lived in my belly for 9 months?
I'm going to say yes.
I thought so, yeah. So during birth, is it advisable that we turn off things like these lights we have on here for filming, which are pretty garish and are in your face?
Yeah, absolutely. I would think about creating a really calming environment. You almost want to recreate a spa environment. There's a reason why they use really low lights, and that's because it encourages relaxation. If you think about, the reason they have really bright lights in interrogation rooms is because, ultimately you're more uncomfortable. And we're always kind of more on edge when we're being observed. So if you think about creating an environment where there is privacy, where there is safety, where there is relaxation, you're going to feel calmer. Therefore, your body is going to work more effectively. And what we always encourage people to do on the hypnobirthing course is think about how our fellow mammals give birth. And think about where they go to give birth. So if you've ever had cats or dogs in the house and they've given birth, where do they go? They tend to go into a really small, quiet, private, dark space. So like behind a sofa, under a bed, cupboard under the stairs, something like that, because it's warm, it's safe, it's undisturbed, it's dark. Now we think about the environment that traditionally we as a species go to give birth. It's a hospital, and it's the exact opposite environment in many ways. It's loud, it's unfamiliar, it's bright, it's somewhere that we may have negative associations with anyway. And so all those things will create a sense of fear and anxiety in us. That's not to say you don't go to a hospital. If that's your choice, then of course that's where you go to give birth. But there are things you can do to make the environment more conducive to a comfortable labour, to make it more relaxing. Dim those lights. Put your little LEDs around. Bring your smells, bring pictures, all of those things that are going to make a real impact on how you feel about the environment.
And is it true that those animals also eat the afterbirth?
The placenta.
Placenta.
Yes, some do, and some birthing people do. That is totally up to you. There is a process where you can freeze dry the placenta, and then it's encapsulated. So that's something that you might consider.
I definitely am for him. Yeah, not for myself.
There we go.
So, like, is it okay? Because I think a lot of people who perhaps haven't watched this video, haven't done hypnobirthing courses, would be quite nervous of going, you know, they're in the hospital room, all the lights are on, nurses coming in and out the room, doctors, whatever. They might be a bit nervous to be like, to take control and say, I don't want these lights on. I want this music on. I think I would have been nervous to question any of my surroundings, thinking they know best.
I think that's a really, really important point. And I think that's what the hypnobirthing course can give you. The confidence to ask questions, the confidence to know that actually this is my body, my baby, my birth, and it is important that I am able to have the environment that I would like. And actually, I think what many people find is that hospitals are on board with this. When I trained to be a hypnobirthing teacher, the vast majority of the people that I trained with were actually midwives. So many of the hospitals, the labour wards, the birth centres are absolutely on board with this. This won't be unusual that you say, can we dim the lights? Can I have my music on? It would just be a matter of you doing it, and where they can facilitate it, they will, because they know the impacts, the positive impact of you being calm, relaxed, and you being in control of your body, your baby, is absolutely vital to your birth experience.
I've just looked at some facts actually on Google, and I wanted to put them past you, of the benefits of hypnobirthing. So one of the top one is a shortened labour.
Yeah, so for some people, they will experience a shorter labour. For some, it won't be for all. So for me, my first labour was 4 hours. It was swift, particularly for a first labour. And that may be to do with the sense of relaxation. So therefore, your muscles are working effectively and efficiently. Your mind, your fear is not getting in the way of your muscles. Therefore, everything can progress well. Yes, that's something that some women, some birthing people can experience. Not all.
No. And the next one is lessen the need for interventions.
Yeah, absolutely. So because your body is working more efficiently, because you're relaxed, there may be a lesser need for intervention. So interventions are usually in place in order to assist the mum or the baby if they're in distress at all, to help the baby come out more quickly because they need the baby out. But if your body is relaxed and doing that already, there's no need for that.
I'm sorry, what are interventions?
So intervention is a medical process that might need to be in place to help the baby to help the baby on its way. Okay. So it could be something like a pain relief, epidural, it could be something like forceps, a episiotomy, etc., things like that.
Okay. There was also, got on this list, naturally managed pain. Obviously, we know we covered that. Giving a feeling of control. But this one, I'd like, if you could explain, a result in healthy babies.
I think I would probably just say that ultimately a kind of calm birth is helpful for mum and for baby. I'm not sure what exactly they mean kind of specifically in that, but a calm birth is going to have benefits for mum and baby.
And obviously we covered this one, help women who've experienced trauma. About 40% of women are scared of birth. I didn't know that was that high. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really high. And like I said, it's no surprise with the way that we've been conditioned to believe that birth is through the media, and through, like you said earlier, through, hearing not particularly positive birth stories from well-meaning friends or relatives, all of it creating a really skewed narrative, that birth is scary, when that's simply not the case for every birthing person.
I mean, yeah, every film I've watched where there's a woman giving birth, it has been a horror show, hasn't it? Like, I can't think of one film where the woman's quite relaxed. I mean, they're meant to dramatise, obviously, films, but...
That's it, exactly. If you think about the various different documentaries or films or programs, you know, they're there to entertain, so they'll be edited in such a way that it's entertaining. You know, they'll include the most complex birth stories. They'll add a dramatic soundtrack, you know, heartbeat or something in the background. They'll make sure there's a shot of, you know, midwives or obstetricians running down a corridor, all of it giving the sense that birth is scary, when actually, like I was saying earlier, there are so many really positive birth stories. We just don't hear them. So it's about seeking them out, because that's really important for you, Jen.
What about the programme One Born Every Minute? They don't show any hypnobirthing on there that I'm aware of.
Not in any episodes that I've seen. Like I said, because, you know, those straightforward births where there isn't much drama aren't the most entertaining and won't pull in the most viewers.
That put me off having kids for a few years, that. Have you watched it? It's a documentary on following women around giving birth in A&E. It's quite brutal.
But all of it, you know, we call it a documentary, which would suggest, oh, this is real life. This is what it looks like. But actually, as we know, it's edited. There's a soundtrack. They're handpicked stories, all those things. So actually, the most important thing for you, I would say, is to watch some positive birth stories, real birth stories, and watch some videos on YouTube.
That's the equivalent of me watching crash investigation documentaries.
No, honestly, it can have such a positive impact. So if you go onto the Positive Birth website, you will see links to positive birth videos and seeing actually what birth looks like. And it's very different. It's calm, confident, positive, and that's what you need to see, Jen, right now.
Jen, before you got pregnant, I know you got fear of the birth part, but did you have fear of this part now? The
growing, yeah.
You did, but now you're actually doing it.
Oh God, it is a battle of your mind. You look at all the changes in the mirror, and I was quite small, I was about size 8 before pregnancy, and you're watching. First of all, it was my boobs went huge. Then obviously the stomach started. Now my stomach's overtaken my boobs.
Yeah.
And, so, and I don't know, there's days where you look at yourself, and this is from a pure, I guess, selfish perspective of like, oh my God, my body's changing. I'm not used to this. Will I ever get it back? And then the other part of myself going, okay, well, you are having a child right now, and sort of reasoning with my head. Mm-hmm. Do you have a lot of women come to you and sort of in that panic?
I don't. I think by the time they get to me, it's so focused on the kind of labour and stuff. But I totally see what you're saying. Can I just say I think you look incredible?
Oh, thank you.
Genuinely. But also it's just acknowledging, yes, okay, all these things are changing and I look different, but just how incredible and powerful your body is right now. You've made a baby. There is a human inside you. You know, you're just so incredible. The human body and, you know, everything that's going on now that you can't even see, like the hormones that you'll be creating in order to make space for the baby. So the relaxin that will be enabling your pelvis to open, will be enabling your cervix to soften. All of that is happening at the moment. It's a miracle. It's magical. It's incredible.
Everybody, including me, says Jen looks glowing, amazing,
gorgeous,
healthy, gorgeous.
Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous.
Shaun's fascinated by my linea nigra.
Joe and James are like, what is a linea nigra?
It's a black line that goes from
just appears?
Like down to there. Goes all through your belly. It's caused by hormones, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know the origins, and I haven't got any kind of specific scientific evidence. But my understanding is the kind of evolutionary reason that happens is because when the baby is born, it can only see in black and white.
The path to the.
It's the path
I was
to
thinking
the
that.
food. It's the path to the nourishment. It's the path to.
That's why your nipples get darker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible.
Now
It's
it makes sense.
absolutely
No.
incredible. Yeah. Honestly, I love it. I feel like I'm learning more about birth every single day and the pregnant body. And it's absolutely fascinating. And it's nothing short of a miracle.
What is the most fascinating fact about birth?
Ooh. I mean,
Or
I think
babies.
that's pretty good. I think for me, it was acknowledgement that it's the baby that triggers the labour process. So
What?
it kind of,
So he decides.
yeah, ultimately, he or she. So it's nothing to do with the due date, etc. It's the baby that kind of ultimately decides when they're ready. And when they're ready, they will release a hormone into the amniotic fluids, the waters. And that's then what triggers your body to go into labour. So it really is when baby's ready.
So is there any telltale signs when this happens that I've got to look out for?
Well, generally, signs to look out for prior to labour that might suggest that it's soon or it's imminent. There's kind of three things that we'd look out for. So the first thing is that you would look out for the mucus plug, which is, as it sounds, a small kind of plug of mucus that sits kind of at the top of the cervix that ultimately protects the baby from infection, for anything getting up and infecting the baby. When the cervix starts to soften, ripen, dilate, ultimately that will come loose and it will fall out.
Sorry, what? I've heard of this plug. What does it look like? I just keep visualising like a bath plug.
Yeah, I mean, it's not dissimilar in size. I'm going to say there are galleries. There are galleries that you can go on to have a look at what a mucus plug looks like. I think it's on Baby Centre. But yeah, essentially, I'm going to say it like it is. It's just like a gigantic snot that can come out whole and might fall into the loo or into your knickers, and it's really clear what it is. Or it's something that might come away gradually, and it might just like you've got increased discharge that day. But it's something to be mindful of because it shows that your cervix is getting ready for the labour.
And that's before your waters break.
Now, it kind of depends. So woman to woman, birthing person to birthing person, it depends. So some people may lose their mucus plug and never notice. So that's really important to remember. There is no kind of pattern necessarily on how things will happen for you. So for example, if we're to believe what we see in the media, we think, okay, mucus plug, then waters, then surges or contractions, then the baby. That doesn't happen in that order for every person. So for me, for example, with my first, I did have that order: mucus plug, waters, contractions or surges. But then for my second, no sight of the mucus plug. Surges started, waters went right at the end, just before I had my son, like minutes before. So you can't kind of give a kind of hard and fast pattern on what it will look like. It's too variable from person to person. But they are the three signs: your mucus plug, your waters, and your surges.
And no, Jen, I'm not eating the mucus plug.
I don't think that one's for like human consumption. No,
Okay.
That sounds absolutely awful.
No.
I'm going to be looking out for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Once you're kind of attuned to it all, it's really fascinating, really fascinating. But like I said, there's loads of information online from really amazing sources, like the birth centre or baby centre, I think it's called, but also, of course, the Positive Birth Company. The Instagram is just a wealth of information, the website, and if you do a course, you get access to a private Facebook group where you can access different birth stories, resources, information. It's an incredible resource, it really is.
So talking about those free warning signs, very clear ones, at what point do you grab the hospital bag? And I asked you about this before filming. What do you actually put in your hospital bag? Because I've read so many different things.
Okay, so let's go for the hospital bag. I think that's really important. Now, what I would always suggest is that you've got a number of small little bags with different things in. Okay, because you're going to need things for you, things for your partner, things for the baby, things for the environment. So you don't want it all chucked in one bag. So when you're looking for something you need, you're just finding nappies or pants or whatever. So I would say have a little bag for baby, where you might have nappies, cotton wool, vest, depending on what time of year it is, hat, etc. Then you want a bag for you, of course, and you might want to think about what you want to wear in labour, what you feel comfortable in. Maybe it will be, if you're having a water birth, a bikini top. Maybe it will be your normal pyjamas because they make you feel comfortable and relaxed. Maybe it will be a brand new night dress. Whatever it is that makes you feel good. I would think about snacks.
I keep hearing that snacks, and that put my ears up.
Important, very important. You're about to embark on essentially what is the equivalent of a marathon. You need to be energized, you need to be hydrated, and you don't want...
Jen wants me to ice pack a load of popsicles because she can't stop eating popsicles.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. So get your ice box, get that all sorted. Whatever it is that makes you feel good. What you don't want to think is it's a rubbishy little snack from the gift shop or whatever, or from the hospital shop. You want to know in that bag is your favourite chocolate or your favourite fruit or whatever it is.
Thing is, I'm not no good with temptation. If I buy my favourite snacks now and put them in my hospital bag, they'll be gone by the time I go to hospital.
Pack lots. That's it. That's the key there. But also just think about, there might be periods of time where you feel able to watch a nice program, watch some friends, watch something that makes you feel good. Laughing, get the oxytocin flowing, that sort of thing. Maternity pads, maternity knickers, bras, all of those things you can be really important. I would also think about packing a bag for your partner. You'll pack a bag, obviously, in case you need to stay overnight. You don't want to be, having to leave to come home to get a toothbrush or whatever, or new pants. Have that all there prepped. And then I would have a little bag for the environment. So we spoke about the importance of making that room comfortable, safe, familiar for you. And this will really be your job, Shaun, because of course Jen's not going to be thinking about setting up lights or whatever else. She's just going to be breathing and getting herself in a good position.
Of course. I've thrown raves before.
So you will have your bag and you will go in there and go, right, I'm getting my LED lights out, I'm closing these curtains, I'm getting the essential oils out, I'm getting her favourite pictures, I'm getting her favourite blanket, and you will set that up to make that a really comfortable, lovely environment to give birth.
I can vision it now, my Moroccan dream.
Perfect. Sounds perfect. It's whatever works for you. And what makes one birthing person feel comfortable is different to another. And I think that's really important. So discuss it as a couple. Sit there and think about, what is it that actually is going to really, really work for me?
A photo of Boomer.
Oh, no, definitely. What, my dog.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, that leads me to a question then of how he's going to film the birth then while I'm being relaxed. He wants to live stream it and put it on YouTube.
I'm just joking about that. We're going to film the birth, not live stream it.
Right, lovely. I think, you know, it's something that a number of women and birthing people that I've taught have done. Some people, in fact, Siobhan, the founder of the company, had an official birth photographer.
Oh,
Well, we do,
bring
James,
Lynn.
but he's in Essex.
Yeah.
We don't think when the waters break, he can go that fast.
It's, you know, I have to say it's a regret of mine that I didn't have someone there to photograph it. And maybe, I don't know if I would have videoed it. I think I'm very aware of my grunting and my mooing and potential swearing when I was in labour. But the photo, certainly, it's a bit of a regret that I don't have that. And if I ever had another one, I would absolutely have a birth photographer.
See, I thought you were going to tell him off for that, and you've actually said how positive that is.
No, I just, you know, it's so beautiful. It's so incredible. And to have a kind of keepsake of that, I just think it's something that you wouldn't regret. And seeing Siobhan's pictures particularly, honestly, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
How are we going to manage this then with James in Essex?
I'll do it.
There you go. Well, you may have other jobs to do. So you might want to
Tripods.
think.
We'll have tripods.
You're
James
going to
will
be
let me
cheerleader.
keep some of this equipment.
You'll be cheerleader. You'll be breathing with her. You'll be holding hands. You might be getting water. You know, all of those things. You're going to be busy.
So we're going to
Taking body blows.
Yeah. Have you been present during many births then?
I haven't, no. So it's something that I would love to do, actually. I'm actually training at the moment to be a doula. So hopefully it's something I'll experience very soon. But otherwise, it's just from seeing really beautiful birth videos. And obviously, I was present for my own, which were incredible experiences. As I said, I've, you know, just could do it again and again.
Well, we have an opening.
Well, honestly, hit me up. I would absolutely love that.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Tell the viewers a bit more about why they should check out the Positive Birth Company.
Hypnobirthing itself is just so incredible. But what the Positive Birth Company are doing, what we're doing is just so unique, I would say, because what we're doing is making antenatal education and postnatal education actually accessible. When I first embarked on my hypnobirthing course, it was hundreds of pounds. It's expensive, and not all people are able to afford that. I was really fortunate that I was. So I think a really important part for me, and I absolutely know for Siobhan, was that actually this shouldn't be exclusive. There should be something that is available to all birthing people. And that's why I think it's so incredible that we've got free hypnobirthing videos, breastfeeding videos, you know, on YouTube with the Positive Birth Company. The digital pack costs £39 for a full comprehensive hypnobirthing course. It really is, and it just means that actually more and more people can benefit from this antenatal education.
We'll get the digital pack after this video ends.
Definitely.
And can
will
people
never
worldwide get this stuff?
Absolutely. It's available worldwide. Hundreds of thousands of people are now using it. It's incredible. And I think you will never, ever regret doing that.
Well, Ziggy's excited. He's literally kicking my
There you
right
go.
now.
Ziggy's on board. Wonderful.
So for the viewers watching this, then, if you've enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. We'll put all of Rachel's links in the description box below this video. So if you're a pregnant woman out there and you want to try hypnobirthing, check it out.
An easy birth, yeah. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Thank you.